What's going on, and welcome back to the podcast. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. First of all, it's always a pleasure to entertain you guys at my expense. Today we have a special guest, a longtime friend that we grew up with. So we're going to have a lot of, I don't want to say trapo viejo y sucio to throw at each other. But we'll have a lot of interesting things to talk about today. Definitely about us growing up together and being from Harlem and some other little spicy things that we could get into. Definitely our childhood and growing up. So I'm very, very, very excited and happy and honored to have Abraham with us. Welcome, Abraham.
Hi, everyone. Yay. I'm excited.
Where do we start? There's so much to cover.
Well, when did you guys meet? I know it was to church, but I mean, I've known you all my life, practically.
I think
At the same time.
Yeah.
Was it?
So I definitely remember Abraham when he first came to church.
You know how old you were?
I want to say I was around 9-ish, 10-ish.
So you were 9-ish, 10-ish. I must have been, 7?
6.
6, 7? 6?
I knew it.
And if I'm not mistaken, your mom was introduced to church via Vicky.
That sounds like a possible...
Yeah, I mean it was definitely from my mom.
Because Vicky lived across the street from us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, is that how you guys came to church?
For me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, your mom was through Vicky, but I think the kids kind of got entangled once Mercedin maybe came around or the Pathfinders came around. Anyways, let us know how
we were absorbed somehow. I mean, my mom, prior to coming to the Seventh-day Adventist church, she was constantly jumping around different denominations. So before that, she was in a Testigo de Jehová church in the area.
Wait, don't. What do you remember from that?
From that experience?
Yeah.
I don't, because I wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
I wasn't even born.
Oh,
when
man.
I was born, she was still attending
Okay.
that church. So I don't have any memory. I just have stories that she has shared.
Okay, yeah. I would like to hear some of that. I love to.
I don't think Anissa would want those stories
Right.
out there.
The only reason I like to is because I love to hear the differences between the denominations. I feel like ultimately all religions believe predominantly in the same thing, whether even if they have different names. Whatever, some people might want to cancel me for saying that, but it's the truth. I feel like the fundamental part of religion is all the same concept. It's just different interpretations of it. So I always like to hear when other people come from other denominations and then go back into the Seventh-day Adventist, and then eventually some end up leaving, and then where they go and how they got to that decision. So that's the only reason I wanted to hop in a little bit into that. But I didn't know that about your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I thought your mom was a Catholic before coming to become a Seventh-day Adventist.
No. She was always born and raised in the Christianity umbrella.
Yeah.
But from what I know, when I was born, she was attending a Jehovah's Witness church. That's actually how I ended up getting my name, Abraham. Mm-hmm. It was from women from the church. And then
That's cool.
Everything was a blur. And we ended up in a Seventh-day Adventist church.
Wow. And what about for your father? Was your father religious?
He was Catholic.
Hardcore.
Yeah, so hardcore in the sense that he had his statues, he had La Virgen Maria, the little cards and things like that in his bedroom. He would sometimes take me to the Catholic church when I was a kid.
Did you do First Communion?
No.
Oh.
No. So I also had that experience too with my dad. And then, at the time I was in attending the Seventh-day Adventist church. And so I had comparisons at the time between my dad's Catholic church and my mom's Seventh-day Adventist church.
That's so cool. So for my mom, she was Catholic. I don't think she was really hardcore. I think she was very kind of like how your typical Dominican is.
Mm-hmm.
She went to misa whenever it came around, but I don't think she was hardcore. I don't remember in my grandma's house ever being statues or like a painting of like La Virgen or anything like that. It wasn't definitely hardcore, but I do know that she was recruited by the famous Vicky. So
Theme here, Vicky.
yeah.
She's the recruiter.
Right.
She is the recruiter.
So how did that affect, like, once your mom, I mean, you were so young, but how do you feel that your mom going Seventh-day Adventist changed the way that the format of how your house ran growing up?
So what I remember as a kid was, she enforced a lot of the rules, right? When it comes to being a Seventh-day Adventist. For those who don't know, Seventh-day Adventists believe that Saturdays or the Sabbath is the day that Jesus died on the cross.
No, that he's sanctified and made holy.
Okay. So whereas, Catholicism, other religions, they believe that it was on a Sunday. So our Seventh-day Adventist is very similar to like Judaism in that respect, like, respecting the Sabbath. So one rule, for example, was Fridays, once the sun set, we couldn't watch TV. We couldn't use any technology. I mean, at the time in the 90s, it was just TV.
Right.
Today's kids will never know.
Right. So we couldn't watch TV, and we would go to service on Fridays, and it was usually the youth service. So that was Friday night, and then Saturday morning we would go to church. The youth, we had our like Bible classes on the side. There was a space separate from the church where we would go and learn more about the Bible, while the adults stayed in the church and they were also having their classes. And then we would have the service. And then after that, we would either go to like each other's houses,
And have lunch.
Wait till the sunset again so that we can finally watch TV. So those were the rules, like no technology,
Adventist
no
kids be
TV.
like-
You can't buy anything. That was another thing too. It's like you couldn't purchase anything until, from sunset to sunset. So people just, I guess, spent the day and killed time with each other as a community to avoid breaking that rule.
Right. Did you understand why it really, like, did you feel that religion for you was more about sticking to the rules rather than like having like a social or spiritual reason behind why they had all those rules?
I think that would make sense. Like, I think a lot of it was rules, discipline, following a faith and its, and its conditions,
Right.
with fidelity, because you wanted to be a good Christian, right? And then in terms of the why we had to do these things, I don't think the why was always articulated.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's interesting because in my household, I understood why. So,
But generally speaking,
I feel like generally speaking, it wasn't. It was kind of, and I get it, growing up in a religious household, it kind of like was ingrained into you to do certain things rather than why. Like if you were to ask why, you kind of would get condemned in a sense.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't agree. I
Like-
think that it was just, I think that our parents' generation have a way of understanding our questions, and then the way they answer those questions is almost like in fighting words. So not necessarily like, let's have a dialogue about it, but more or less, this is why we have to do it. This is, you know what I mean? Which kind of rubbed off a lot of people the wrong way. It's just like, if we, at least in my household, I would say that there was dialogue about, why we do it. So it necessarily, like, for example, you mentioned we don't watch TV, we don't buy anything. In my house, it was never like, oh, you can't do it because it's a sin, right? As a matter of fact, I never thought of it as a sin. I just thought of it as my mom would explain it as God created the heavens and the earth in the first 6 days. It says it in Genesis, right? And then in Exodus 20, I forgot the verse. That's bad. But I forgot the verse.
In Genesis.
Yes. And no, in Exodus, it says that he made, the seventh day, he made it holy. That's the day that he rested from all his work. And basically it's a day for us to be in communion with God. And so if he gives us 6 days, and actually that was the exact question she used to say, if God gives us 6 days to do everything that we need to do, work, go to school, buy whatever we need, do any extracurricular activities that we have like scheduled or that we want to get into or whatever have you, why wouldn't it be okay to take that one day that he tells us from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday to just be in communion with him? Right. So I never thought of it as, oh, it's a sin. And a lot of people in church would, tell us, oh, you can't go buy pizza because it's a sin. And it's just like, no, it's not necessarily that it's a sin. It's just that, he gave us 6 days. So let's just give him that one to kind of like build that relationship with him. That's how I understood it. That's how I was educated on it.
Yeah, that was one of, many interpretations.
Right.
I heard that. I heard it's a sin. I heard,
Yeah,
this is your opportunity to detach and, focus on something else. So yeah.
I mean, for me, definitely, there was definitely a religious aspect to it, and this is what I understood from like the research that I did. There was definitely the spiritual aspect to it. There was a physical aspect to it. So,
right, like resting
exactly.
your mind, resting your body, like Kady was saying,
right,
from the week. Like 6 days, you've been hustling, doing whatever. Take this one day out of the week.
right.
To
And I would say now more than ever, I think it's important to detach from the world in a sense because of the social media now and the internet. We're like hyper overloaded with information and social media. And I could definitely see a day to take off. Forget the religious aspect of it, just for like your mental health at this point. I could see the benefit to detaching for one day just to reset, but also to like focus on your family, your well-being, just detach from work, like, and just like take a day off. And apparently there's been some scientific research done on that too, and how like humans actually benefit from detaching at least one day a week to do whatever it is that you want to do. But it's interesting how the spiritual aspect of it and the physical or the science behind it, they kind of correlate, and it actually like logically makes sense. But growing up, it definitely did not feel that way. It definitely felt like it was very restricting. And for me, the biggest challenge was, which is crazy, why I called the podcast Between Two Worlds. For me, it was very hard to be a religious person and to be someone from the neighborhood at the same time, because everyone from the neighborhood, they just weren't as religious, and if they were, it's easy to go to a misa and then to just leave and then just carry on with your life, So for me, growing up in my neighborhood, I felt socially awkward and almost to a point where I felt embarrassed to be so religious, because one, going to Sabbath, like going to church, I mean, besides Tuesday and Friday, because we also did Tuesday and Friday, we just couldn't socialize with our friends on the block or in our neighborhood as much as we wanted to, because we felt restricted to have to be obligated. And I hate to say that word, but when I was young, that's how I felt. I felt like I was obligated to follow this religion. And we'll get into that a little bit, like how we felt like things have formed us to this day. But growing up, I definitely felt obligated to, and mind you, I was like one of the better ones in church growing up, because I would say my brother was definitely more rebellious than I was about it. But I definitely felt like it was an obligation. And I think that's where the first time I felt like I bumped heads with religion and my mom and church in general was feeling obligated to stick to these rules, because it felt like rules. It didn't feel like a lifestyle or something that was really beneficial in both ways, like for me and for God, type of situation.
Well, it's something when you're a child and adolescent, right? Like your parents want to do what they believe is best for you, right? And so they bestow things on you. And in this case, the church was bestowed on us, right? Like, well, there's a space that we can go to, that we can learn, that we can have community, build relationships. Look, there's other kids there. They go to your school, because we all lived in the same neighborhood, right? We were only a couple of blocks away from each other in Harlem.
I mean, 3 of us were on the same block.
Literally, like,
Literally.
like we were like in a 5-block radius, north, east, south, and west.
Yeah.
So like a majority of the youth in the church. And, you know, now that we're talking about this too, I remember something that was really hard for the adults when we were kids was finding employment and jobs
yes.
that would allow them to not work Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, again, this is back in the 90s, you know, the time was very different. Jobs were not as open or flexible and considerate as they are now. So I remember a lot of people, especially new people to the congregation that were coming in, they wanted to be a part of the community, struggled with that, with juggling, like, I want to be a part of this. I want to learn. I want to connect. I want to, you know, have a relationship with God. But what? I can't work on a Saturday?
I have to
like,
work.
It's winter. The sun sets at 3, 4, and I have to stop.
Or I have to talk to my job and, you know, let them know that on Fridays I have to leave early. And Saturdays I can't work until after sunset. So yeah, that's a great point, because that was something huge
for the adults,
Absolutely.
right? And then for us, in terms of like a social life, you know, I didn't have a social life as a kid, you know, talking about the neighborhood, right? So everyone, this is Harlem, Sugar Hill, Hamilton Heights. I'll speak for myself. My brother and his crew were notorious in the neighborhood. So as a kid, it was really hard to have any type of social life because I was scared of the world. I was scared to step outside. This is a very different time, you know, like people would yell at you, call you names in the street, disrespect you, rob you.
Gangs were prevalent growing up, too.
Yeah, gangs were prevalent.
You're opening the door to your building. You have to go on the floor because there's a shootout type of area.
It was rough growing up, right? So, you know, in terms of like a social life, I didn't really care too much. My social life was you guys in church.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, I was bullied in school. So like if I went to school, I hated it because I just didn't feel safe. And then I didn't feel safe in my neighborhood because of my brother and his beef. So my haven and my social life was developed in church. So for me, even though I'm like, oh gosh, a Friday night, you know, a Saturday, I'm tired, you know, because every time you're being asked to do something, you just all of a sudden you're exhausted, right? But that was where I was able to socialize and like be me as a kid. So it was interesting.
Did you feel that way?
Oh, well, I was
not bullied in school, and
I was not
very
bullied
popular in school.
I was actually very rough around the edges, but he was bullied in school, and I definitely, you know, I handled a situation or two, you know. So I mean, Abraham was my brother, so you know, if I was literally in his house, like 3-4 times a week on the most random days, you know, like a Wednesday, you know what I mean? So it's just, or Thursday rather, like, so yeah. So if you're doing something to him, I want all the smoke. I got suspended twice for that. My mom was pretty pissed. But yes, it was very different for me because I was pretty rough around the edges. I defended mine, but also when it came to, for me, it was a little different at church. Church was like my decompressing moments or, you know, days. Like I loved going to church Friday nights because I knew all of you guys were going to be there. And so were we paying attention? No, absolutely not. We were probably doing little ID cards and drawing, like we were just doing the dumbest stuff. But it was fun. Like the what was it?
The fortune tellers?
I don't know why I was going to call it a cootie catcher. What's a cootie catcher again?
Oh, a cootie catcher.
Yes. Believe me, there was something called the cootie catcher and it just came to my head.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That should be an app.
It should be an app. But I mean, you know, we used to do the dumbest things. Oh God, Abraham. But then it was just so much fun. Like, you know, church was over and now we all get to walk home together because like I said, we would walk down Convent and then go up to Hamilton, drop him off, and then we'll just continue down towards Broadway because that's where we lived. So we were literally like 3 blocks away from each other on the same block, but it's just he was uphill and I was all the way on Riverside. So it was fun. It was really fun for me. Like I loved going to church Fridays. It was dreadful to go to church on Saturdays. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I was just there like 10 hours ago. And having to wake up at like 7 and you're a kid. You don't want to wake up at 7. You want to sleep in, wake up at 7. My mom was, oh my God, she was so insane. Oh my God. Militant doesn't even cover it when it comes to time. And like she would leave us, but she's downstairs waiting, and then you hear her screaming our names from the courtyard downstairs, and our apartment, like it faced that courtyard. And so she would stay there, and we would have to look out the window and come down, because if she was gonna come up, we were gonna be in trouble. So, Saturdays were a dread, but once I got to church and we're in Sabbath school next door, the adults are doing their thing, we're doing ours, and then after church we all get together. We're eating either at Arely's house or my mom's or his house or someone's house. It was just such a good time. I loved it. I loved that part of it, but it was truly a drag. It was a drag. And it was also because I felt like every single weekend it was the same thing. Like, are we really talking about the same thing again? So we would fall asleep one on top of each other, or next to our moms or next to each other, or, but it was still fun. Like, looking back now, I'm definitely grateful for our upbringing and being brought up in the church. I think that, I've carried a lot of that with me. But then there was, kid stuff. You're annoyed, you're tired, but as soon as you're with the gang, you're good. It was fun, but it was also a drag.
Wow. It's interesting that you guys didn't feel any, for me, I definitely felt social pressure. Like,
in what sense?
Because again, like I had friends outside of church.
Oh yeah, I didn't care.
And the thing is that everyone that I went to elementary school with was 2 blocks away from my block. So we constantly saw each other. I was constantly getting invited into like birthday parties, but I couldn't go because most of them were on
Friday night
or Saturdays. So like a lot of parents used to like question. I remember my mom or my dad, and they're like, "Wow, dejen ese muchacho salir. Like let them socialize, let them come out. What's one day of them missing out on a church service so that they could come to this birthday party?" So like for me, it was. I'm telling you, the amount of embarrassment that I felt. But as I got older, I kind of got over it and I was okay with it. But for me, it was definitely hard to balance the being religious and not being able to be social, including the other layer of me trying to play baseball too. Because I was like, because my dad grew up like playing baseball. He wanted us to play baseball, but guess what? All the Dominican serious competitive leagues, they played Saturdays. So yes, my brother and I were one of the better players. And for us to be one of the better players and to tell the coach we couldn't play the day of the actual game because we had to go to church, it was just like, so for me, socially and almost to a certain sense emotionally, it was a drag for me to have to explain someone at school, at the baseball league, in the neighborhood. It was like a constant like going over it with people like, hey, like I'm at church, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I just can't be around because I'm going to be in church. So for me, it was definitely a drag. Like, and I'm happy for you guys. You guys didn't have to probably experience that as much.
No, I wouldn't. I don't agree. I think I experienced that too.
In high school.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was definitely high school for me, but even junior high or as a kid, like you, we had a ton of people in Rocky snoring. We had a ton of people in the building that had, birthday parties and the kids and this and that. And we couldn't go because we had to be in church, or, oh, we can't unless it's after Sabbath. So yeah, I did experience that too. I don't know that I necessarily felt embarrassment more than annoying. Like I was just annoyed, like, I'm like, damn, it's always a no. It's always a no. It's like, oh, because it's Saturday, it's always a no. But yeah, it wasn't really embarrassing. I mean, everybody knew I was Adventist. I mean, I was the Christian lady's daughter from 3H. Everybody knew I was on the block like that. La hija de la señora cristiana del 3H. Right. Everybody. So, I mean, it was kind of my, it really, right? It kind of does sound like
it's funny because we got labeled as well, like the Christians of the block. We were like the Christians of the block. and almost not to a detriment, because sometimes when people were in need, they came to my mom for prayers. They were like, we know that if God's going to listen to someone, he's going to listen to your prayers. So we used to get a lot of like prayer requests when people wanted to acclamar to God, always in the bad, of course, because in the good, ain't nobody need no Jesus. But, when someone was sick or someone was going through something or deportation or whatever it may be, it was always coming to my mom. Because it's funny, for my dad, him not being a Christian, well, he's a Christian, but entre comillas, cuando le convenía, he was always in the bodega, like drinking. So that made it even worse for us, because we were so ingrained with everybody in the community. So what they would do is that they would go to my dad and in the bodega while he's drinking,
right,
halfway drunk already, to then have these prayer requests come to my mom, and then her to, sprinkle the Holy Spirit into other people's into people's lives. It's just funny because a lot of people, when they wanted to have faith, they had faith for those bad moments, and then in my mom's prayers, of course.
But you hear in that story, like right between two worlds, like how crazy that sounds. They went to your dad, who's inebriated, drinking in a bodega, to play messenger,
yes,
and connect this person to your mom, the Christian.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, so el esposo de la cristiana está dándose un humo en la bodega. It's like, what? Like, that's crazy. But for me in high school, I started to like level up my relationship a little bit with God and my relationship with the church. And so, back in high school, it was the MySpace days. So I used to get flamed because my MySpace had a picture of Jesus. I had Bible quotes. I had like Christian music playing. And my friends in high school were flaming me all the time. They were like, Abraham, what is up with your MySpace? Like, why do you have a picture of Jesus? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, because I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. I go to church and this is what I believe in. And that's when it, started to hit me a little bit like, oh, socially, because in high school, I wasn't bullied anymore. I actually became popular in high school. I was friends with everyone. Everyone knew who I was. So seeing a social media presence, right? This is like, y'all, for those who don't know, the birth of MySpace, Facebook, Go Next. Do you remember that?
Oh my God.
Like that's all wild. These like social media platforms. And so, you're like building a digital profile, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your personality. So that was different for me, like sharing that side of me in a digital space, and the reaction that I was getting from my peers. I laughed at it because I'm like, what's wrong? Like with me posting a picture of Jesus. But that's, for me, like when people started to like realize like, wait, what? You go to church? Like you are not available on a Friday and a Saturday? And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because as a kid, prior to high school, I just didn't do anything.
Right.
So it wasn't a problem until it was a problem.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it became a problem when people started inviting me to things in high school.
Right.
Prior to that, I only hung out with y'all, like the church youth.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting.
Or my family. My family's huge. So in itself, one event, it's like everyone's there. So yeah, so that's when.
That's crazy. I mean, my high school experience, as you guys may know, was a lot different from you guys because
you were shipped off to a concentration camp of some sort. Yeah, we know. It was
a boarding school, y'all. It was a boarding school, a religious boarding school, and I'll add my sister, who's Emmanuel's peer, friend. She also grew up in the church. So my interpretation was that the parents got together because they wanted to save y'all from the hood.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And you know what's funny? Not to be insensitive about concentration camps, but somebody told me that, I can't remember if it was Kim or I don't know. I don't think it was Jason. You guys came back all of a sudden too. Which is, I do want to know why you guys ended up coming. It wasn't even a year, was it? That you guys lasted there?
And this was Tennessee?
Yeah.
Because then you guys went to Jersey.
I went to Jersey.
He went to Jersey.
Y'all went to Jersey.
Yep.
Jason didn't go.
Vicky went to Jersey.
Did she?
Vickiana.
I don't
No.
think she did.
Really?
No, I don't think she did.
I think Jason and Vickiana went to Garden State. The one in Queens.
Okay, so they went to a different
They
one.
went to the day school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went with Kimara and Maciel
Maciel,
to
yeah.
Garden State Academy.
Yeah. Well, somebody came and said, "Oh yeah, that we went to. It was concentration camp, and so that's why I've been saying that to you forever and a day. But I mean, it was an interesting experience that you guys had.
I loved it. I think if
Do you love it now, or did you love it back then?
both, because the thing is that growing up in church, yeah, it was significant to me, but being able to fully be shipped into an experience where not only my setting changed, but like the way that I carried myself, and then it felt like a reset for me, and it really gave me the opportunity to understand where am I going to stand religiously and socially and
culturally.
and
Right.
culturally.
Because you
Yeah.
know, you were taken out of Harlem
Right.
and sent to Tennessee.
Exactly.
And then to like the middle of nowhere, New Jersey. I was jealous. Like I was
Really?
like, why?
You wanted
Yeah.
to go?
Yeah, I wanted to
I
go.
said it
I
with
wanted
my
to leave
dead
the
body.
hood.
I said-
It's funny.
Oh, no.
It's funny because a lot of the youth, when it happened, when that decision was made, which yes, that was the original reason why, and I was upset about that part, because when I had the conversation with my mom, I was like, ye of little faith, ye of little faith. Like, do you not trust in what you're raising? And I think what my mom didn't understand, again, because the gangs were around and all these like violent things around our neighborhood was going on. What she didn't understand is that we associated with people so that we wouldn't get in trouble. But she didn't understand that part. So it's like, yes, we knew the drug dealers. Yes, we knew the people that were willing to do the bad things in the neighborhood. But we befriended them so that when something would happen, we wouldn't get engulfed into
The
it.
street smarts.
You get what I'm saying? Like, mi hermana, nosotros estamos, like, and they knew that we were from church too. We were labeled the Christians
The
of
Christian
the block.
kids of the block.
You know what I'm saying? So I think she had fear that because we were associating ourselves with these people, that we were going to get influenced into getting into that world.
Surely wasn't far fetched because we became friends with them, but I mean, they weren't wrong in thinking that, because I mean, we were kids, and when you're a kid, you are more susceptible to influence.
I pushed back because, again, I thought that showed them how little faith they had in what they raised. I think my mom didn't understand that I had enough street smarts to be associated but not involved. And again, the way that we went to church, the amount of time that we went to church, for us not to take that and apply it into our day-to-day lives. Was it hard? Yes. Was I tempted? Yes. Did I want to, maybe explore a little bit? Yes. But originally I was upset. I was upset because it made me feel like she just didn't have faith in me, basically.
Yeah.
So yes, I was happy to go to Tennessee, and I would have loved for everybody from the group to have gone, but there were some in the group, calling it concentration camps, that were very like, what the heck? Why are they sending these kids off?
They're making me work. They're making me get up early in the morning. I have to work and go to school. And you guys were teens. Like, how old were you? 15, 16 when you went?
13 going into 14.
So even younger.
Because I was a freshman.
Yeah.
So I had to be 14 because it was the summertime that we left.
Yep.
And my birthday was January. So yeah, I was 14 years old when we went out to Tennessee. I loved it. And I'm happy that somebody was,
I wanted the experience.
I sure
so
did
I
not.
selfishly was like jealous of my sister that she got that experience. And I wonder, because our moms, were very close as well. I wonder what conversations they were having to come to that idea, or, that decision to say, we're sending this child of mine, because my mom there's 8 of us. And so she decided that, Maciel was going to be the one, in the same way that your mom decided like you were going to be the one to go. And the other moms that were involved, chose one of their kids. Like all of our moms had multiple kids.
Yeah.
it was expensive. That's part of the reason why. I remember that the part of the reason why we weren't obligated, but we had to work, was to collaborate towards the tuition. So a lot of the money that I made from working over there, whatever they were paying me, I'm sure it wasn't a lot, but that went towards the tuition.
I didn't know that.
Like a work study.
Mm-hmm. So, and then what they did is they gave me 10% of what I made from myself. So from whatever I worked, 10% of that would come to me, and that was like kind of like my allowance, and that's how I would buy whatever. So yeah, part of the reason why we worked, it wasn't just to work, it was also to pay our tuition. Hence why we would stay during vacation time and work full-time hours. We would do 8-hour shifts. Typically, we only did 4 hours of work and then 4 hours of school. That's why they called it a vocational school, because they taught us things outside of the books.
Traditional books, yeah.
Right. So we did woodworking, we did mechanics, we did gardening, we did plumbing, we did farming. You can name it, and we did it. So it was. We could get a little bit more into the schooling part of it, because there were some social issues we had with that too, because it happened to be that all the Hispanics were the hardest working in the school. So sometimes we felt some type of way, because we felt like a lot of times when we got projects that were a little bit harder than others, we just automatically knew that we were going to end up like we did mining for a little bit, like not like blowing mountains up, but we would build pallets and then put the rocks to then put it into like people's yards or whatever. We would take those and then we would like basically make pallets of that, which was extremely hard work to do. And you sure know that, all the colored kids,
Coincidentally,
you said 10%, the 90% of your salary, your earnings went to tuition.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But that's interesting that you were jealous, because most of the kids were like, heck nah, I'm not trying to go to no Tennessee.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Well, you guys know I was always a nerd too. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I get to go to boarding school and I get to escape and learn somewhere else and start anew. Like for me, I just wanted to have a different like experience in school. And I thought that leaving Harlem, New York City would offer me that. So I was always jealous of myself. Yeah.
Look, I was proud of it. I think it was one of the best decisions our parents did for us. Till this day, I have never heard any of us from that group say that experience didn't change our life. Like it, maybe for some of them more negatively than positively. For me, it was definitely positively, because I accepted it. I wasn't one of those that was like, I'm not trying to come over here or whatever. I was like, you know what? Like, let me try to make the best of this experience. And like I said, it challenged me in a way, spiritually and in all other ways, even to become an independent person. Like it challenged me to become like who I am today, which is interesting, because I always try to compare myself to Jason, because Jason and I came out to be very different spiritually and the way that we manage our day to day. So I've always wanted, and who knows, maybe I can convince him one day to come on to talk about these things. I really don't think I can.
Nothing's impossible.
Maybe one day. So, because the way that we all came out from that school was a little bit different. But for sure, not to like boost myself up, I think I was the one that came out to be the most religious after Tennessee. And it was because I was engulfed in trying to understand why I believed what I believed. And I challenged God, which I haven't really said this out loud a lot. I challenged him to like make me understand him a little bit more and what relationship he wants me to have with him. So I got into a lot, especially between Tennessee and GSA, into understanding other religions. So I started really studying up to see, Judaism, Buddhism, like all the other religions. And I started like really to challenge those religions and to be like, why is this one the right one or my path? Until this day, I'm still like in that process. But it was just interesting for me. And it really, really carved me into who I am today. That 1 year in Tennessee and then GSA. So, and I still have friends till today, like that are there I'm close to because of those schools.
Yeah. So growing up Adventist, what are you most grateful for?
That's a loaded question.
I mean, for me, what I'm most grateful for is always pursuing good, right? Always this idea of like try to be the best version of you every day. You know, every day is a new day. Make better choices, learn from your mistakes, and also to like have a relationship with God, and that you make that look for you how you want it to look for you, right? So I know growing up in church, you know, it was always like, well, you have to pray, you have to get on your knees, and that's how you have a relationship with God. And the older that I've gotten, I'm like, I can just talk
Yeah.
in my head.
He's someone.
You know, I could be walking down the street and like just talk to God,
Yeah.
you know, and try to have that rapport whenever I can, when I have the moment. It doesn't have to always be, you know, when I'm at home before I go to sleep, you know, to pray. So for me, it's just that, like, to just be a good person, to do good, to not have malice or do things with malice. I think that was for me like one of the biggest lessons that I learned, especially as someone who, like I said before, went through bullying, went through like a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
It could have been real easy for me to like hold grudges and resentment. But I'm thankful that I'm the kind of person that I'm able to reflect, to grow, to learn, to listen to myself, and to listen to the suggestions and the feedbacks of other people, and just aspire to grow every day. And I think that has to do with, you know, growing up in a Seventh-day Adventist church.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's definitely hard to answer because I can't not give credit to the church for being who I am today if it wasn't for church. Like, I have to give credit to church. I guess ultimately for me is always the goal is to be more Christ-like, you know, like he's the ultimate example. So there's the spiritual part of that, which is a constant day-to-day struggle. And then in society and, you know, my moral compass is also thanks to church, you know, like a lot of that is the foundation of that came from church. And then a lot of things that you said, like the day to day, not to like, I try to be generous and I try to do well, and leave a positive imprint in everyone and everything that I do. I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with the right heart and the right, you know, energy, I guess you could say, to do things. Like, I don't want to do things to get something in return. I want to do things because I know that he's going to give me a return because, you know, that's what he does to his children. So it helped me a lot with that. It definitely helped me a lot with like forgiveness. Like, I don't really, I try to see things like in the focus of like, we live in a world of sin. And unfortunately, people are going to let us down. You know, people are going to hurt us. People are going to do wrong by us. And sometimes it's not even intentional. I don't think some of them do. Some of them do mean like bad. Like they do mean harm. But even in that, I have to see that we live in a world of, you know, of sin, and, you know, Christ died for everyone. So like, if God can forgive them, who am I not to forgive them? So that's why sometimes people don't understand, like, for certain specific things that happened to me during my lifetime, how can I find the space or the energy to forgive them? It's like, bro, because if God could forgive me and I'm nobody, how can I not forgive them, you know? So all of that, the foundational part of it comes from church, you know? And I was telling Kady about this the other day, like, even the way that I try to manage money, like finances, it's literally like the way that I look at it, nothing belongs to me. Like, you know, everything that I have is thanks to God. And he gives me, according to how I manage my money and how I steward my money is how I get blessings. So what do I say to God? I'm like, hey, like, cause I'm very ambitious, like, help me be a better steward so that I can receive more blessings or financial blessings in turn. So, and that all comes from church. Like, I can't not give them credit, you know? So for me, if I was to put a negative part, I mean, did you ask me? I don't remember if that was part of the question.
No, but go for it for sure.
If I was to put some negative to it, and I don't think there is a lot of negative per se. I think this lands on more our parents, and I hate to say it that way, or the leadership in church was that authoritarian. How do you say it? Authoritarian upbringing that we received in church. I think that's where I kind of have like a little bit of a pushback with church, because unfortunately we have free will, and I don't think it was right that we got the books kind of thrown on us. Like growing up, like I felt like it was very this way or the highway type of thing. And as I gotten older, I think I've understood, and maybe my theology is wrong, but I pray to God that it's not, is that nothing is by force, you know? We don't give to others because we want something in return. We give to others because naturally our relationship with God creates us to do those things. So like, for instance, we saw someone homeless that his sneakers were like, I was this close to taking my sneakers off and walk home in socks. I don't do that because I want to get credit. I don't do that because I want something in return. I do it because me nace, because of the relationship that I have with God. So I think that, and I think we'll get into that in a little bit, why we find ourselves not as active in church, but still like following church in a sense. Because day to day, like I never neglect it. And at work, they know that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, even though I'm not actively a Seventh-day Adventist. It's like, but fundamentally, that's where it comes from. Mm-hmm. So that was a hard. I couldn't answer that in a short term like answer. Like it's just a loaded question.
No, it's definitely a loaded question.
So and I still have a lot I could say to that, but I definitely love having these conversations with our parents because a lot of them they almost feel like guilty in a sense. And I feel like that's where sometimes they lose me a bit. Like, and I have this conversation with Vicky all the time. It's like, she always tells me, come back to Christ. And I'm like, I never left. Like God is with me every day and I talk to him every day. Yeah. I find myself driving and talking to God sometimes. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why do they think that because we're not in church, we don't carry Christ with us in a sense? But that's like a segue, you know.
Back to that, but
yeah,
what about you, Kady?
don't lose that.
Yeah,
don't lose that because to that point, well, first of all, let me address that point and then I'll answer.
No, answer the question first.
The question and then address
then
the
we'll
point.
Bring me
address
back, okay? Yes. Say what you said because I will forget. I'm taking fish oil, you guys. I will forget.
That was a good segue.
Yeah, discipline. I am grateful for the discipline that was instilled in us as Seventh-day Adventist kids. I mean, they had us walking from 125th,
collecting money
for the poor,
for those in need.
Yep.
Yeah.
From
whatever happened to that, by the way?
I don't know that they're still doing any. I don't know. I mean, I've not heard, so I don't know, but I'm grateful for that. I mean, Pathfinders taught us discipline. Mm-hmm. You know, we started at let me back up. Adventures.
Yeah.
You know, and then Pathfinders, and you know, collecting money for the needy, and you know, having these, you know, events every other, you know, certain times in the year where they're feeding the poor. Right. You know, that as you know, that very much stuck with me. I can't see someone in the street and not, you know, just stop and ask if they're okay, offer them food. I mean, I packed a backpack one day and I got a whole bunch of stuff from Amazon because I mean, that was instilled in us. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the discipline. I am grateful for the ability to have that relationship with God. Everyone's walk looks different. Mm-hmm. I mean, at some point we all, you know, we kind of strayed from the church and just like did our own thing. And I think that was just part of our youthful rebellion or rebellious stage. But I am also thankful for our parents praying for us, teaching us who God is, mm-hmm. who Jesus is, the importance of having that relationship with God. And also, I mean, it's something I struggle with today, but that ability to forgive so easily, it comes very hard to me. Very hard. It's something that I still struggle with. Definitely a work in progress. It's gotten a slight bit easier than before, but it's still a struggle for me.
Right.
Still, I try to think about it as a challenge, right? So there was a situation. I won't get too into it because it doesn't have to do with me, but there was a situation that happened to certain individuals when they were, little with this older man, and you can already imagine where that's going to go, right?
Right.
He passed away. And, naturally, years pass, he gets married, he has kids, he passes away. And before he passed away, he asked the Lord for forgiveness. He asked the Lord to, just basically he was accepting Jesus as his Lord and Savior. And he passed away in his early 60s, still very young.
Mm-hmm.
And, his wife and his kids were struggling to kind of figure out how to pay the medical bills. It was in DR, not here. And in DR, if you don't pay the medical bills, you won't get the body from the hospital. It's some wild, wild west stuff. But you won't get the body. You have to pay the medical bills. Then they'll give you the body. Then you can, have your funeral, whatever have you. And they were missing a chunk of money. So I spoke to Sadie and I said to her, this is the situation, right? What do we do? And so we gifted them the remaining money that they needed to pay for the bills so that they can bury this person, right? If I get into the nitty gritty of the details of that story, naturally you would be like, why on God's green earth would anybody help him? He got what he deserved, right? But I took a step back and I said to Sadie, this may sound cliche, but we have to take it back. What would Jesus do, right? That's what he would do. Jesus walked with prostitutes. He spoke with prostitutes. He sat with them. He prayed with them. He ate with them, with the poor, with, the prideful, right? So like you said, if he can forgive us, right, and he can come down to our level and meet us where we are, why couldn't I do the same? So I'm grateful that is a lesson we were taught growing up.
Right.
If we carry and lived our lives with such hatred and, carrying all this guilt and all this sorrow, and half of us probably wouldn't be alive. Right. Severe depression, we know that's so common, especially today, anxiety and just suicide rates forever fluctuating, it's just, we could have been a part of that. And I think that growing up in church, and knowing that there is a God that sees it all, a forgiving God, and a God that is just, wanting to have a relationship with us, I think that helped us, in that realm of forgiveness and being able to move on. So yeah, I think that's the most I'm grateful for, having grown up Adventist.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our specific struggles, and I definitely have mine, and everyone else has their own, and we're not here to be in a space where we need to be judging each other also for that either. Like, I feel like that, going back to what I was talking about earlier, part of the reason why I feel like some of us felt the necessity to leave was because we felt a little bit judged, And we'll get into that, like why we left church. I had my reasons.
Oh, and I'm also grateful for the health message. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because about the Melinda and the study that they did in California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are least dying.
Yep.
Let
It's true.
me tell you. Do you like tofu?
No.
But you would eat it if somebody from church made it.
I would eat tofu.
Yeah, you would eat tofu as long as it's made.
Ese tofu tiene que estar guisado.
Pero muy guisado.
Exactly,
Cebolla y
everything.
la vaina completa.
Needs to be hooked up.
Claro. Pero tú te lo comes. ¿Sabes por qué? Porque tú creciste adventista.
No,
claro que sí, mi amor. Porque
yo no discrimino.
Además de un adventista, ¿quién tú oyes que come tofu?
Mi
¿Tú
amor,
sabes
yo-
quién?
yo como
Los
lo que
chinos.
sea. Yo como lo que
Ah, pues tú,
sea.
no tú eres de los que no te deja morir.
No.
Yo sí, yo me dejo morir.
No, no, no.
Yo
Yo como
sí.
lo que sea, pero
No,
tú tienes
yo
que
no.
estar, tú sabes, guisado.
Guisado.
Ajá. A little salt.
Bien hecho.
Of course.
All
I've
right.
had
So,
soul food
so the
stuff, but
segue. So I was talking about how I felt like the books were thrown, like the Bible was kind of hit over our heads, and you wanted to say something, or was it you, Abraham? Who
we
wanted
both
to say?
wanted to say
Yes.
something.
Okay.
You said that, you still get comments from people about like, oh, come back to church.
Yes.
Like, return to God
Yeah.
as
Right.
if you left.
Right.
It's interesting because when people ask me like, oh, like, what do you believe in? I always give them the same response. I'm always like, well, I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. And so that's a part of me, but I'm also spiritual. And because I agree with what you said earlier about just like, I believe different religions and denominations have something valuable and important. Like, I think I can learn from all different religions and denominations, but I still hold on to that part of my identity that I am a Seventh-day Adventist.
Right.
Even though I'm not a practicing
Right.
Seventh-day Adventist, it's still a part of me and my upbringing and my story.
Right.
So I don't separate myself from that title. Like, I still, I went through the whole process. I was baptized, and for those of you that don't know, like, you have to go through Bible studies and take all these courses and do all these things to finally be able to baptize. And I did that, right? So I went through the whole process as a kid. I wanted to go through that process. So for me, even though I'm not an active member of the church, I don't consider myself not Seventh-day Adventist. So I find it interesting when people make comments like that. It's one of the reasons why I've always struggled a bit with the Seventh-day Adventist church compared to my other experiences with different religions and different denominations, because my experience has been that other denominations, so for example, like the evangelicals, even the Catholics, like, they welcome you. They are excited that you're there. They don't question you. They don't judge you. The messages that they preach are positive. They're inclusive. They're loving. They're energetic. They're inspiring. And unfortunately, when you go to a Seventh-day Adventist church and you hear the message, it's usually one of three topics. It's the world is ending. Someday the world's going to end, and they pray for the end of the world, which I'm like, okay, I get it, but I'm not ready for the end of the world. Like, please. They pray about, sin and like the deadliest of sins, of things that you cannot do. Like, you cannot be a homosexual. You cannot, do and have
Drink
sex
and
before
smoke and
marriage, or
sex.
all these things, like, because it's you're gonna go to hell and you're destined for damnation, right? And what's like the third most popular topic? This one is silly, but like when we used to have the youth studies, like, you can't go to the movie theaters, you can't go to concerts, because when you
Yeah,
do,
you're not an
your
Adventist
guardian
kid, you won't know.
angel leaves you, and they don't enter those spaces with you. So now you're prone to the devil and to Satan and to like things that can harm you.
Right. Right.
And so you're there as a kid, and this is the message, the same message every single week. And so, we just went to a reencuentro last weekend, and a lot has changed, and not for the better. I felt very sad by what I experienced. It was like bittersweet. Like, I loved seeing my friends that I grew up with. I loved seeing a lot of the pillars of the church are still there. It's so funny because people are still sitting in the same spot.
section, the same spot.
It was so funny. I'm like, so they're in a different building, a different church, but it's very similar to the old
Yes.
church that we grew up in, and people still sit in the same spot. And they decorated the church. It was supposed to be a wedding. It was a metaphor. I'm stupid. I thought it was a real wedding.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, I did
'cause
too. I'm not
they
even a
put
front.
on y'all. They put on a whole production,
They
and I
sure
was like,
did.
wow, there's a budget. Like, okay, so they decorated the church. I'm thinking, oh, who's getting married?
Right.
And then
Like, did they
Katie's like,
just
Abraham is a metaphor, and I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, like Jesus is when Jesus marries the church. And I said, oh, okay. So why am I sharing this? So this whole production is put on, right? About the 10 virgins, about how half of them, were ready for God and they were able to cross over the door. And then the other half, they missed their opportunity and they were doomed. And so I'm like, okay. So then the pastor comes, young, funny, had a personality. I was like, oh, okay, like this is
It's gonna
different.
be a different
like,
sermon.
yeah, this is gonna be a different ceremony. And here he comes talking about, for as long as I've been in church, we talked about the end of the world, and we don't know when it's happening, but we know it will happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like y'all did a whole production, a whole wedding,
And you thought it was
a
gonna be
whole
different.
thing. I'm like, this is what we're talking about today. Like, why can't we just talk about having a relationship with God and just leave it at that? Like, it's like it always culminates in, because the world is ending and we don't know when, but it will happen. And that was like always the vibe.
And you know what I'm gonna attribute that to? I think it's because, I'm gonna, and not because I grew Adventist, but I do believe the world is gonna come to an end at some
of
point,
course.
right? I think we
Everything
all know
comes
that,
to
right?
an end.
Yeah, we all know that's gonna
Whether
happen.
you believe in religion or whatever, everything comes to an end.
Everything comes to
the
an end.
world at some point will come to an end.
And bringing religion to a side, if we're really just talking about the status of the world and how we're really heading that way quicker rather than later, right? But I will, as you guys know, I spent some years living in Connecticut. I left the city and moved to Connecticut. I finished high school there. I did college there, and in my time there, I will say that I'm going to attribute that to, first of all, before I make that point, I'm going to attribute that to a certain generation of folks in the church that really just stick to one topic. Not that it's not important. It is important. And I think that looking at it from a different view or a different point of view, the reason they do that is because they really are afraid of, their families and friends and like people from the church that they grew up with getting lost, right? But I think there's a different way that could be done because, for example, again, I moved to Connecticut. That's really when I started going. I continued going to church, but then I strayed. Partying, doing my thing. I'm a teenager. I'm a young adult. I'm early 20s. All that stuff. And so I stray from the church and I'm doing my thing and, the same, oh, come back to church, but a friend of mine, he's like my brother, really wanted to start or do something different than what we grew up being used to. And so he's like, let's just open a small group. And I'm like, oh, here we go. A small group. Okay, cool. Well, the Bible study started at my mom's house and they were really just, let's just do something that we've really never done. And it's read the Bible from front to back. And then let's just talk about it as, a group of young adults and just kind of build or rebuild that relationship with God. I was down for that. I'm like, okay, cool. This is nice. This is different. I like this. I'm down. At that point, I was living on my own. So I would drive to my mom's on the weekends. And every Saturday after church, this is what they were doing. And so then they did start a small group, a small church, like a youth church. And while that was part of the message, not all the time was it every single Saturday, like the world is ending, fix your life with Christ. We're going to be lost and all this stuff. It's like, yes, the main goal though, on every single sermon or conversation or, reunion that we had was just like fixing and having a good relationship with Christ, making him our friend. And just ultimate goal is that one day we'll get to meet in heaven together. Right. So that was nice because we went to a church in Miami when we lived in Miami for like a summer for his work. And we went to a different church and, the sermon that day was like the Gospels and, the importance of, the right worship with God and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. So that made me think about like our upbringing, and it was such a good sermon. It was a good worship service. It was such a nice day. But also I'm very appreciative for my time in Connecticut and the different point of view that I was able to create when it comes to sermons and creating that relationship with God and the Adventist church, because it wasn't the same sermons that we've been hearing since we were a kid. Like, we know that the world is going to end. We know that our relationship with Christ has to be at an all-time high and strong. And, it's just like, there's just so much happening in the world that, you just want to know that there's something positive coming out of it. Right. And it's just that meeting with Jesus. But I think that's where it comes from. I think that they're just so afraid because we've had conversations with our moms, and the conversations always start nice, but then they get like this. And then it's just this like, but you gotta, and it's just like, Christ, Lord Jesus, give her a sign. It's just a normal conversation. You know what I mean? So I think that it's just, while they preach not to be afraid, I think they are afraid. And I don't think they're afraid of like the end. I think they're afraid of what's going to happen in the end.
Well, those things, I mean, no one's in control of what's going to happen, right? And I think leading from fear and trying to inspire from fear is a recipe for failure.
1,000,000%.
And it's, I think, one of the reasons why, unfortunately, it's, hard to attract younger people to church.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's not, and I would say to a Seventh-day Adventist church, because I have been to other churches and there's a lot of youth. When we went back last weekend, we were the youth.
Yeah.
The reencuentro, we were the youth. You look around and you're like, where is everyone? Empty, seats. No one knew. There was like no one, and it was a very sad sight to see. And so I feel like, if they continue to operate through that well-intended way, and they also just don't, como que no se amplían, like step it up a little bit, in terms of, how they present, how they worship God. They're not, it's like you're a part of this religion. The why, I don't know at this point. From what I saw last weekend, it's like you're here, you're present, but are you worshiping? Like, I didn't feel the spirit in that church last weekend.
Yeah.
But these are people that have been the pillars of the church. They've been in that community for 20 years, 30 years, more than that, right? So you would think that you would experience something strong and inspiring and re-energizing, and it was the opposite. I left last weekend feeling sad and kind of shocked at like how different the church was, and not in a positive way. Yeah. It's sort of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we made that church.
We were the heart of the church. Yeah.
And, so that was tough.
Definitely, fear definitely has a lot to do with it since it was so ingrained into us. And I definitely see it in our moms day to day, like, because it's true, every time they kind of reach out to us about the religious part of it, or in our lives at least, is very like fear based. And I agree, like that wasn't the best way to go about it with us. And I give them a little bit of grace because I think in their ignorance, they think they're doing right by us. So to a certain extent, I accept it, but it's like I think that's where they didn't bridge. Like that's where we lost each other, was that they, as good as they were to teach us that end of it, they weren't good enough to pass the baton and be like, you know what? And I'm gonna have a pastor to come on the podcast, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this. it'll be interesting because I have a lot to say, and not in a negative way. I just want to have the conversation. But I think it's very specific to our region and to this conference that unfortunately a lot of leadership in the Seventh-day Adventists of this conference, the Greater New York Conference, they lost the mark in understanding that they need to pass the baton. And because they didn't pass the baton, and they kept the message the same way, and they didn't evolve the message in a way that it was a little bit more attractive to our generation, because truly after them, it was us that we should have been the leaders of the church. We should have been the one.
They tried, they're like, I had to preach,
right?
When they recruited a group of us, of the youth, to like preach, you remember that? But again, it was something that was voluntold, like it wasn't something como que te nació, como que, oh sí, yo quiero predicar, yo quiero tener esa experiencia. It was, no, Abraham, we need somebody for this weekend.
Right.
Nobody else wants to do it. So
you got to do it.
You have to do it, Abraham, because, like, God is going to love you so much for doing it. And, it's going to be so good for you and so good for the church. And, everyone's going to love it. You're going to be great. And I'm like, but this it's not my time. Like, it's not like, it's like they were buying a plant and putting it in the ground and claiming that they watered it and raised it from the seed. Like that was kind of like the vibe. It was just like, tú vas a predicar, pero we weren't cultivated to grow into that. It was,
and that's part of it. That literally goes into what I was trying to say about passing the baton. They had a responsibility not only, and I hate, because I'm sure they feel like I'm attacking them now, and it's,
no, because again, I want them to hear what we first said. We are grateful for having grown Adventists. We identify as.
I love them. I love the experience.
Absolutely.
I love everything.
But like every religion and every church, there are negatives to it.
But it's specific to this conference, because when we went to that Miami church, Abraham, it was
a Seventh-day Adventist church
in Miami.
Yeah,
Like did they have
it was
instruments and stuff.
Everything.
I never understood why.
I never either. If it's in the Bible,
we can't have.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Music and an instrument and
a different production.
Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't think, my opinion, don't lynch me for it, but it's my opinion. I don't think that if I am listening to WAP, right? I'm listening to WAP by Cardi B, and I like the music, I like the beat, I like the rhythm. I don't think it's gonna be okay for me to take the
juxtaposition of this topic, and you came up with WAP.
I was thinking about something just completely, just completely the opposite of what I'm trying to.
Complete 180.
Yes, and so it makes sense. But if I take that, right, there's a point why I specifically chose it. But if I take the music, because I like the music, I like the instruments, I like basically everything of. I'm going to take it and I'm going to make a gospel song out of it, or a Christian song out of
the music
of that song.
Okay.
I don't think that's okay.
No, that's not.
Okay.
No, that's blasphemous.
Yeah, because it.
Pero there's a lot of Latin artists doing that now.
Yes, and
I'm like, esa canción,
right. That I was just perreando to, but now it's like.
Yo no he escuchado un dembow cristiano.
No, espérate.
Pero yo sé que tan.
Mi amor.
Pero yo he escuchado like ballads, or like they'll take like a Mariah Carey like hero background, and and they'll turn it into an alabanza, and I'm like, okay, this is a little strange, but it depends on the song, one. But for me, what bothers me the most about that is that, again, I feel like it eliminates the creativity. Right? Like, you can't tell me, oh, I'm guided by the Spirit, and the Spirit guided you to a Mariah Carey hero background music. Like, use the talents, right? Like, there are people who have the talents, who, are pianists, who are amazing singers, who know how to play the drums, and just create a song, create a beat. This is a part of like building a church and a collective and a community, right? Like, do something
Yeah.
with your talents.
Yeah.
Don't just take someone else's production, and it's a song that, you're claiming
Right.
is, devil music or
Right.
devil worship,
And
and you're
just
gonna turn
smack
it
off the
into.
lyrics and then just put some Christian
Yeah,
lyrics
no,
on
that
it.
I don't agree with, but I do like original productions that use different instruments to
Yeah.
elevate and to
Yeah.
inspire. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I would agree. And I mean, the Bible, I don't know where in the Bible. I'm still reading the Bible. But there is, it talks about alabanzas con símbolos, or I don't know
Like
if I'm saying that.
the
Like
cymbals, yeah, the
symbols, and
symbols,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, I don't think that, first of all, back then, I'm pretty damn sure there was no piano, right? So, they were gonna praise Jesus. I think first and foremost, praise should be from the heart.
Right.
Come the way it comes, except if you're gonna smack, some Christian songs onto a Hero by Mariah Carey or WAP by Cardi B. That's a absolute no for me.
That's wild.
That's wild. But like, if, for example, my little cousin, she sings and her fiance is a drummer, and the music that they've created together, it's beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. And there's no exaggeration of one or the other, it's just peaceful music. It's just music that you feel that connection to God, right? And there's instruments. So I've always had an issue with just like singing, for example. I feel like it has to be a hymn, or nothing type of thing, like when you're gonna do worship service in church.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, like, even, like if there was a song that was not in the hymn,
Right.
in the book,
Right.
right? Like, wait, what song do you want to sing?
Right. Like, wait, that's not in the hymn.
That has a little too much bass, or
Right.
it has a little too much of a beat.
And as you know, I grew up in church singing.
Right.
So they wouldn't have to listen to my song first to see like if it was church appropriate, which again, I can see it from both sides, right? I can understand you wanting to make sure that you're not like deterring anyone or like, distracting anyone from the message, but also it's not going to cause anyone to dance or want to move their bodies, or you like think about something other than that relationship with God. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my issue with worship and the Adventist church. And, again, this is not to attack, because we all grew up Adventist and we all still consider ourselves very much Adventist. But I think that those changes could be huge in the Adventist church and its growth and the message that we really are trying to put out there.
Yeah. But that's what I was trying to get to, was that I think where they lost the mark was that, one, they didn't, because they were so busy trying to like ingrain the fear of us being lost so much, they forgot the part where they were supposed to instruct us to be the next leaders of the church, which what was a layer of it. And then second of it was because they believed so much in the fear of being lost, they weren't willing to budge in none of the formalities that we grew up in church. Till to this day, by the way, because for the most part, they have changed the music a little bit, but for the most part, the formalities of church have not changed, specifically to the church that we grew up with. Because again, the church that we went to in Miami, Abraham, it was different. Like, they had live streaming going on. They didn't have a pulpit. Like, it was more like a stage type of, which is happening a lot with a lot of denominations and churches. They're getting rid of the whole having the formality of the pews and then having like where the pastor preaches, and now it's becoming more like a open stage type of setup. I'm sure there's some theology against that, and I get to a certain extent why there's some hesitancy with churches with that, because again, as much as we want to evolve and we want the message stays the same, but the just delivering it can evolve. Right. I 100% agree with that. I think where people, and to piggyback on some of the stuff that you guys were saying, is where and this happened a lot in our church, is that fear of being lost was so ingrained in the leadership of our church that they refused to change anything with the formalities of church because they felt that if we changed the formality in church, we were going to be in sin.
And let me tell you something that I've visited and I've church hopped a lot. Primarily because again, I was, trying to figure out what was best suited for me. And I don't think that this is a universal thing. I mean, obviously, right? Because and I think I want to I'm trying to say it's more for me, it's more like the church that we grew up in, because it was pretty painful to go last Saturday and see the church was so empty and the same folks are there sitting in the same spot, even if it's a different building. It does have the same setup, more or less, but it was pretty sad to see that. And I think, Abraham and I were talking about how we felt impressed to want to go back and at least visit more, right? Which I do plan to do. And but it's not a universal thing. So to me, it's just like, I don't know if perhaps this specific group of people, maybe in the area that they're in, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to figure that out. Like, why is it that specifically, our church is just so gun-ho about not pivoting from what they know? You know what I mean? I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to that point that I was making. Because fear was so ingrained into them, I think they're worried that if they evolve, they're going to be in sin per se, if that makes sense. So, si la alabanza no es de una cierta forma, si the formality of church is de una cierta forma, now church is starting to become more of the world. We're letting more of the world influence the church. And because we're letting that come in and influence the church, now we're becoming a church of sin or in sin. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the fear.
I don't know that it's all that much that they feel like they're going to be in sin than.
It does, because the thing is that the reason why instruments and different types of worship weren't allowed to come into church was because of that, because they didn't want to feel that they were more of the world, and we have to be different. You get what I'm saying? This goes back to that original thing that I said to my mom when I went to Tennessee. Did you not trust that you raised someone that knew, that understood to a certain extent what you were like instilling into us? So in other words, if I've been an anciano or leadership of my church for 10 years and you're of age and it's gotten to a point where I think it's time for you to take the baton, why not give that person the baton, and then you as an elder, which they are, and we still lean on them for wisdom, why not empower that person and be like, look, we need to pass the baton on, because if not, we're going to lose your generation. And I'm sure there's a spiritual side of that too, but because they didn't allow us to have that moment per se, and this is not to everyone, obviously. Some people, the people that were going to leave, they were going to leave. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah.
But the people that wanted to stay, we didn't get that opportunity. And because it didn't evolve, because we were going to change the church. And if we go into church today, it's going to change. It's not going to be what it is. They have to accept that. It is what it is. We can't attract youth if we don't evolve the way church functions. And don't get me wrong.
But I also think that's a double-edged sword.
Well, we don't want to lose the fundamentals of church. That's what I'm saying. But there's a reason why other denominations are thriving. It's a truth. You know what I'm saying? But we don't want to get lost to a point where, again, we are of the world and we're giving that. You get what I'm saying? Because there's straight up mambo Christian songs out there. That older lady that came out, that she kind of does the Omega type version. That is straight.
What's her name? Something de Fuego.
I don't want to endorse that right now. But my point is that there is straight up, and don't get me wrong, God knows everybody's heart, and if that's the way that they're gonna make it, and they're gonna accept Christ, I get it. the message is broad. The way that I think that's why there's so many denominations. There's no excuse at this point.
I mean, there's so many denominations, and that's, but that's going back to Catholicism, and that's a whole other podcast, which I would actually love to get into.
Right.
But I would like Manny and Michael to be here because that's more their realm. But point is
right.
Did you, and not to cut you off, but did you ever feel like judged in, like, because I know you had some suggestions that you brought up to the church, weren't necessarily accepted, but I don't know that they were shut down.
I mean, any of the decisions I've ever given, they haven't been shut down.
Okay.
Again, I think the issue with them and the people that I've dealt with was, again, that they weren't willing to let go of power. And I think, I'm not speaking on their behalf, from my purview, it seemed from a place of fear, because they knew that change was going to have to come with that. So, not to call out certain names, but there were certain people that were ancianos over way too long than they needed to be. And then when we suggested it, because I was one of those, I was sub-director of the youth department. Guess where I was going to have to go next? I was going to have to be parte de la junta.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as that would have happened, and then the Pathfinder, because we all were very involved with that, and we were very thankful. Until this day, I still donate to the Pathfinder clubs, the ones that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take any credit, but I'm just saying that's how important that department is to me. But again, if tomorrow our generation takes over the church, there's no way that I can see it functioning the way that it functions today, because it's not going to work for us. And it's not going to, and again, it's not coming from a place of, oh, nosotros vamos a entrar and now we're going to do what we're going to want to do. It's not like that. It's just that the way that God speaks to us and impresses us to preach to others or to serve others is just not the same way that they did to us. And we're literally admitting that today, because the way that we were raised was very,
Authoritarian.
Thank you. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that word. So again, they need to let go of the power of the head of the church. And until that doesn't happen, which happens, I'm 100% sure it happened in that church in Miami, because if it didn't, then the youth wouldn't be, in front of the church as they were when we went to visit. And it was beautiful, Abraham. Yeah. It was almost weird to me, to be honest, because I'm so used to the formalities of our church that we went to that church.
Expecting that there.
Yeah.
I was like, y esta producción.
Yeah.
Y tú esta cámara. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like,
on a Saturday? What, cameras?
But you know what I'm saying? But it makes sense, because
that's how you also outreach, right?
Yes, because they were live streaming.
Right. And so that's how you connect to a greater audience, right? If the whole goal is to spread the word, y profetizar, and connect with the community, you have to use what's at your disposal to do that. You have to get with the times,
right?
That's why I said que se tienen que ampliar,
right?
Like, which last weekend I was actually, because they were live streaming with a little phone,
yes,
and I was like, what? Like, they have a phone set up. Like, I found that so surprising, and I'm like, okay, that's a difference,
right?
And then they had a projector and a projector screen, and I'm like, and that's where y'all lost me, because it is 2026. Why don't we have? Do you see that TV that's over there turned off? Is it that the church you guys are renting from is not allowing y'all to use the TV, or is it that y'all don't know how to set it up? Because
that's what it is, Abraham.
Why are we using this old school massive projector? There's a TV right there. Hook it up to the computer.
But can I tell you something? I think now they're using technology because they're forced to. I don't think they did it because they wanted to. And again, it feeds into that point that I'm trying to make. If they would have passed the baton earlier, it would have been happening.
So what you're saying then, because I was narrowing it down in my head, whether it was a willingness gap that they're having or a skill gap of like not knowing how to do certain things.
It's a little bit of both for sure.
But you're saying it's more of a willingness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of the fear. That fear aspect, that they don't want to be in sin per se. Because I get it. Part of the reason why they didn't want drums in the church was because
They thought we were going to shake it.
That and they probably felt to a certain extent. I'm not judging. I'm just saying to a certain extent, it was opening the door to sin or to
Yo,
the
even
enemy.
the attire.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm telling you.
you know, that's that was something for those watching or who will watch and listen. Like, that was a giveaway in public. Like, esa tiene la falda hasta los tobillos, esa cristiana, esa de la iglesia, ahí de la 145. Like, those were dead giveaways that you were a Christian woman.
Yep.
You know, it was the length of your skirt. If you were a man, you know, it was like dressed up in suits on a Saturday and people are looking at you like, where are you going? Oh, you're going to church, right? Like, there was just such a formality in the way that you had to dress to attend the church and not be judged, the way you had to carry yourself in and out of church, your diet, what you were eating, not eating, you know, whether you were able to attend Friday and Saturday or just one. Like, there was a lot of religious social pressures that were put on everyone. Not just pressures, but like these expectations too, that, you know, it made you and cuando they would spin it into like bueno, these are challenges that with the grace of God you're gonna overcome, and he's gonna help you figure out the way. And I'm like, but are these like challenges? These are just like day-to-day, like normal things. Like, if I like to eat chicken and now I'm going to church, like, I shouldn't be made to feel like what I enjoy to eat is bad, you know, because now I'm like, okay, well, this is now creating like a bit of a separation for me, right? From the community, or, you know, keeping it on the low, like, oh my gosh, like, I can't get out of work on a Friday, you know, but I can't let the church know because I don't want people judging me for it. Like, I think even that too, that there was no flexibility and no grace that was given to people. It was like, well, if you're going to be a part of this, you have to be a part of this full throttle, 100%. And we're expecting this every single day, every single week. And I think that was hard for people.
I think that, I don't know, I feel like that's when I say that the experience also is very valid in that, right? Because, or what experience you had. Because I sure as hell did have my chicken on Saturday. As soon as I got to my mama's house. She wouldn't bring it to church, but not because...
Fíjate que la gente llegaban a tu casa, tú te estás hartando tu pollo.
No, mi amor. El que llegaba a mi casa sabía que en mi casa habían dos cosas. Y más como mami cocinaba.
O había a cake.
Concho, tres cosas. Siempre había un pastel. No lo voy a decir como lo dicen los dominicanos para que no se ofenda la gente. Siempre había un pastel dominicano. Siempre había comida vegetariana para los vegetarianos. Y para los muchachos, porque mami was always a person that if we had a church trip, she had a turkey and cheese sandwich for everybody. She had juice. She had Capri Suns. She had the Tampico juice. And that Jesus, that's probably why our immunity is so A1. But she had snacks. She was the snack lady. She always had everything. So naturally, Saturdays, when we were having lunch at our house, she always made 3 things. Again, Dominican cake, vegetarian options, and then a meat option. Whether it was typically chicken. She didn't really make beef or anything like that in the house. And as another point for Adventists is we don't eat pork. Shrimp, anything that's shellfish, right? So that's also very similar to the Jewish religion or to the Jews. So it was always beef, or it was always chicken, or something along those lines. It was
turkey, chicken,
right,
or eggplant.
Right. Yep. So or eggplant. So I never actually had that experience where, I mean, again, mommy wouldn't bring it to church because, again, the point of Advent, or one of the points of Adventism, is preaching not only the gospel but the health message as to, you know, why we don't eat pork. And the reason we don't eat pork is not because, we're Adventists, we just don't eat it. Right. It's because of the health repercussions that brings. It's in the Bible, you know, what you can and what you shouldn't eat, right? And same thing with shellfish. You know, shrimp. I love shrimp, but shrimp is a bottom feeder. You know, and you are what you eat, right? I'm not saying you're a bottom feeder. I'm saying
mean, no pun intended.
no pun intended. But the point is that there's a lot of health repercussions that come with eating foods like that, which is why the Adventists don't partake. So all that to say, I didn't have that experience. Like, I think at least the experience I had with folks that were coming to church, visiting, they actually liked our food. They were like, "Oh, this is different, but this is actually really tasty. This is really good." Or the reason why we try not to eat meats, you know, certain meats on Saturday is because, you know, we're trying to make vegetarian, you know, vegetarian lifestyle a thing, or vegan lifestyle a thing. I mean, Vicky's probably like 200 years old, and that lady still looks the same that she did 20 years ago. She looks the same. I don't even know how old Vicky is, but she looks the same. She's been a vegan all of my life, at least, you know. So, she looks good. Her skin is amazing. Her husband, my God, it's wild. But that's the reason why the Adventist Church preaches the health message. So that wasn't my experience. And I hate that was your experience, or, you know, a lot of people, you know, that, you know, also had that experience. My experience in that realm was pretty great. Even coming home from church, they knew we were Adventists because of how we dressed. That's for sure. But also we don't really wear jewelry.
Right.
Yep. So that's another thing. Oh, she doesn't have ear. I've had my ears pierced since I was 3 months old. But she doesn't have earrings on, or, you know, no jewelry and things like that. That was also something that identified Adventists. I think that's a bit of what's it called? A little bit excessive with, I mean, I think that the moment you start to, you know, idolize jewelry or anything for that matter, I think that's what becomes a sin.
It's become more acceptable now to have your wedding band, though,
right,
in the Adventist church.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but again, because it's what it symbolizes, not that they're just trying to show off a 14 karat, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, but yeah.
But even if you wanted to, what's the problem?
Right.
You know, like, if you're giving your diezmo, if you're a God-fearing person,
If you have a relationship
with God, so does your partner. You guys are, you know, church-fearing, God-fearing people. Like, okay, what's the issue with, you know, sharing your symbol of, you know, of love and marriage or whatever on your finger? Like, I just, again, those are like certain things where I'm just it creates this us and them.
Yeah, but I also think that's generational too.
Dichotomy,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you want to be a part of us, you have to get rid of that ring. You want to be a part of us, you have to not go to work on Fridays and Saturdays. You want to be a part of us, you have to, like, it was always us, them. And it was hard, you know, like, there was, and I feel like a lot of the message was also that, like, there is no in between.
Yeah.
You know, like, you have to pick a side.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. That actually makes me want to pivot a little bit to this next part of our conversation, because you are a gay man. And
Shocking.
I hate you. So first of all, did you ever feel hated by God? Not the church, by God.
Not hated. So, quick story. So, like I said, right, like, the message was always the same. It was, you know, the world is coming to an end soon. You have to be ready. These are the sins. It was very clear homosexuality was one of those sins. As a kid, I always knew. Since kindergarten, I was always attracted to boys. I always knew. And then once I started, you know, attending church and growing up in church and hearing the same message or a version of that message every week, I started to develop concern.
Okay.
I started having, like, really serious internal conflicts with myself, because I used to ask God, why would you create me if I'm destined for damnation? Like, that was a question, and look how easily it came out, because that's the question that I used to ask him in my head all the time. I used to fall asleep crying thinking about it. I learned how to do research. Again, we're dating ourselves. This was pre-Google, pre-Yahoo.
You are dating us. You really are dating us.
Where you had to go to an index,
Right.
right?
Oh my God.
And for those that don't know, it's like a table of content that is in the back of the book, and you look for a word, right? And so I would go and in my Jean Bible, you remember the Jean Bible?
I still have my Jean Bible somewhere.
Yeah.
I would go to homosexuality, and I would read all the verses that had to do with that, and all of them said the same thing.
As a kid.
That's how I learned how to like use the index as a kid. And
It's one way to do it.
yeah, and so I said, wow, like I'm really doomed, because this is who I am and this is what I'm interested in. So I didn't think that God hated me, but I always wondered and questioned why he would create people to be born this way. And I know that's controversial. I know people are like, you're not born that way. You're not born that way. I do believe you are. And like I said, I knew from kindergarten, and we're talking about the 90s. Like there was nothing on TV or any influence like that argument that's made now, like, oh, they're trying to convert our kids.
Right.
Like I had none of that.
No indoctrination growing up.
There was none of that. I was in the hood in Harlem. Like even the thought of being gay and openly gay back then was scary.
Yeah.
People would call you the F word, not the F word, like the one that we just throw around, like the F word that's used to insult gay people openly. Like no one had any shame. It was like people were disgusted, like if you were an openly gay person. So, I was scared of being authentically me. I was scared of accepting me because of church, because I'm like, whoa, like I'm a part of this community and I can't be open about it because they're going to kick me out of church, or they're going to judge me, or I'm going to embarrass my mom. I'm going to put, this shame over my family. And I'm going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like that was always the thought as a kid. And so I remember so many conversations with God, like, when it came to like the world's coming to an end, the world, I wanted to check my calendar because I wanted to see when Y2K happened. Like,
oh my God.
Because I think we were in church.
We were in church
that day.
Yeah, we were in church.
Waiting for
like
Y2K. It was a night. It was a night.
Yeah.
I wanted to confirm that because I remember we were in church, like waiting for the end of the world to happen. And I used to pray to God, like, please let me get to like 16 years old because I want to have a driver's license. I want to drive a car. That happened. I said, oh, thank you, God, the world hasn't ended. And then with my sexuality, when I was in high school, I was like, I need to see, like, am I really interested in men?
Saturday night, January 1st, 2000.
So we were in church.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be a Saturday.
Yeah. So the sun set early, but we were in church. I remember. So we could have been home. We could have been watching TV, but no, we were in church waiting for the end of time. And so what I was saying, lost my train of thought.
You were having these conversations with God, waiting to 16.
Like 16, like driver's license, don't let the world end. And then that didn't happen. And I'm like, okay. And so when I got to high school, I said, okay, like I need to lose my virginity. Like that was the goal. When I was like, I need to lose my virginity with a girl. Right. And I was like,
did you think that was going to change your?
I wanted to see if it was, if I was gay or if this was just like something that I thought, but I didn't know. Yeah. So I was like, let me try it. Let me see, like, what would come out of this. And so I had my girlfriend in high school. We were intimate. And, ultimately I decided, like, I'm not interested in this. Like, it confirmed it for me. Yeah. I was just like, this is not for me.
How long were you with that person?
I don't remember how long, but I was 17.
Yeah.
And after that, that relationship was over. That summer, I had my first leaked boyfriend, who was 4 years older than me, was openly and unapologetically him. did not care. He would be the type that just want to do anything in public. I didn't feel comfortable with that. He wasn't understanding of that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to like figure my life out.
You
and,
had
like,
not come out to anybody yet. At this
no,
point.
but that summer, because he was around, my mom was like, I need to talk to you. She spent the whole summer like chasing me, like, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you.
You knew what it was.
Yo quiero hablar contigo. Tú sabes. And of course I knew what it was. I'm like, what does the no someone talk about? Like,
right.
and so I remember one night she pinned me to the refrigerator, not in an aggressive way, but my mom is
She said, I'm going to talk to you
smaller than
today.
me. She was like, yo quiero hablar contigo por mucho tiempo. And I'm like, okay. So she asked me, she was like, are you gay? And I say, yes. Like this, because I thought she was going to smack the shit out of me.
Right.
And she was just like, bueno, yo siempre sabía que tú era diferente. Like my mom always knew. It's one of the reasons why she was very overprotective, because like I said at the time, being openly gay was not acceptable, really. It was very taboo. People would insult you, they would hurt you, they would hit you. So it was not safe like it is today to be open. And she was like, okay, well, I want to meet your friends and I want to know more about your lifestyle. And so I was shocked that she was
That was her response.
Yeah, that was her response. But of course, that was coupled with pero tú no quieres hablar con alguien en la iglesia, like, vamos a hablar con esta persona que en la República Dominicana él era doctor y psicólogo, qué sé yo qué, y él puede hablar contigo porque a lo mejor es una etapa. And that was hard, right? Because it's like, okay, you just asked me a question. I gave you an honest answer. At that point, I already knew what I liked and what I wanted to do in that realm. And she went back to like, well, let's bring the church in it, and maybe talking to someone in the church can change you or can make you rethink your choice.
Yep.
And so at that point, I was like, girl, I came out the closet. Like, you asked me, I told you, it doesn't matter. I spoke to the person, but I was like, nothing's going to change me.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was still attending church. What caused me to stop going to church was, and this is so silly, y'all, but again, this is like back in the day.
Which was my next question.
Back in the day, I had a messenger bag.
Yeah.
Right? Like today you see straight, gay, all
has
types of people walking around
You
with a
guys
little
just
bag,
finally
little purse.
realized how convenient it is.
Honey, I love my bags.
Let me tell you, it is just convenience.
I love
Because
my
when we
little
go
bags.
out and my husband over there wants to say, hey babe, put these in your purse for me, he wouldn't have to
Vamos a
if he
regalar
had a
una
bag.
carterita.
We'll work on that.
Yo,
one.
I had the most
basic messenger bag.
messenger bag. It wasn't even brand name. It was literally like a plain black big
Something you wear to
laptop
school.
bag. Yeah, which I was using.
I know
for
exactly
school.
the bag you're talking about.
It had a flap. It was there was nothing. It was black. It was plain. And one day in church, a woman who to this day she goes to the church, and I saw her last week, and it was fine, right? Because it happened, whatever, many years ago. She was like, "Why are you wearing that bag? Like that's for girls. You're not a girl. Like why are you carrying that? No, you shouldn't be carrying that bag." And I snapped at that point. Like I lost it. I think Kady, you were in church that day. I went off in church that day. And it was a complete shift at that point. It was a turning point. That's when we stopped after that incident, because my mom saw like how it hurt me.
Yeah. And is that when she stopped going too?
Yeah, she stopped going as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know I stopped attending the Seventh-day Adventist church at 17 because that's when all of that happened.
Yeah.
And who imagines like, you're going to stop attending church because of a messenger bag?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even because I came out, and the news spread. It was because this item, a messenger bag, was viewed at the time as a feminine, like female product.
Right.
So yeah, that's what ended that chapter.
Jeez.
With church.
I thought it was something more harsh.
No, it was
No.
silly, but I just snapped
Well,
because,
not necessarily silly for you, because if it would have been silly,
well,
I
silly
think
today in hindsight, but
right.
it's like at
At
the
that
time, right?
moment.
Like I said to you guys and now that we're talking about this, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a psychoanalysis because church was my haven.
Right.
It was where I felt safe from the neighborhood, from school. So now I'm in church, my safe space, and I have this person criticizing my bag. Like, I don't need to hear this in church. I'm already dealing with a lot Monday through Friday,
Right.
outside, in the neighborhood, in school. And so when she said that, I saw her like a bully
Yeah.
in that moment.
So you went into defense mode.
Yeah, because I'm like, why are you antagonizing
Right.
me?
Over a bag.
Over a bag? And it was just like, and she was harping on it. And I'm like, what? Like, I was just
Yeah.
like, this is crazy. And so that's why I snapped. And, no one had ever seen me like that in church. Like, I remember I was crying hysterically. I was kicking things, throwing things. I like went off. It was really bad. And yeah, that was the last time. I was just so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Um,
And was last Saturday your first encounter with this person in all these years after that happened?
I think so.
Really?
Did the person ever after you?
Apologize?
Yeah, did they ever apologize?
No.
Oh, look, that's a huge lesson for the church.
That is a very huge lesson for
'Cause-
anybody.
So for me, first of all, sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened, Abraham. Like I truly don't like. There's no sugarcoating that. Like, that should have never happened. And if it did happen, it was on them to, like, for you to
Repair
react.
that.
Yes, they should have. They should
situation.
just how they had the energy to come criticize you. They should have had the energy to come and apologize. To
Yep.
you. Period. It's just there's no other way around that. For me, it was the same thing. It was fornication for me. So it was still a sexual thing, but it was just fornication. So I was having sex outside of church. I mean, outside of marriage. So my mom.
I would hope it was outside of church.
But you know what I mean. It was outside, and it was outside of church. But the thing is that my mom knew that yo tenía
He was going to DR a lot.
I was obsessed with going to DR, and you know why?
And she's a mom. She's like,
So-
oh no.
Estaban tratando de manga la vista contigo.
So I don't think they were. I was more trying to live in DR at that point because
Yeah.
I love DR. But the thing is that I was going to DR because I had a girlfriend in DR. But she introduced me to the new things of life, and my mom noticed that I was like very obsessive going to DR.
So she became suspicious.
So she was like, but I've never ever not. I've always told my mom, if you're gonna ask me something, make sure that you want to know, because I know that lying is a sin. I was in church as well during this time, so I was like, if you're gonna ask me something, be ready for the truth, because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. And till this day, I live by that code. It gets me in trouble sometimes, but don't ask me something if you don't want to know the truth.
Exactly.
So, like,
si tú vas a
anybody-
conseguir, si tú estás buscando, tú vas a conseguir.
Exactly. So like, and don't get me wrong, I don't come from a place of hatred. I don't come from a place to who's God. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you. And I hope that you know that wherever I come from or wherever response I give you is from objectively a place of goodness. Like, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm not trying to pin you down. I'm just giving you my honest feedback. And again, like, and here's my pushback to all three of us is that, yes, church is supposed to be community-based, and we are there to hold ourselves accountable. I think where we lost the mark was that the way that we held each other accountable. Not us,
Yeah,
but you know,
in general.
the generation that was our parents and their generation. So, and I think that was the issue. Again, they came from a place from, what's the word I have a hard time saying?
Authoritarianism.
So, and I think that's what happened. Again, because they were so...
Authoritarian.
Thank you. When I do this, you got to help me say
I'm
that.
sorry.
Because I refuse to butcher the word anymore.
I appreciate that.
There's another word I say as well is dictatorship.
Oh,
So that's why I say, oh, they're gonna go ser unos dictadores, and then, so long story short, my mom noticed that, and she was like, You're in leadership. You're an example. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold on to that. You're right. I am an example and I am going to do that. So what my mom said, she said, are you having sex? Like, are you fornicating? Are you having sex with like this girl?
Did she ask you, are you fornicating? Did she really ask you that?
I don't remember how she asked. It was one of the two.
It sounds like she would.
Right? That's what I'm asking. Like,
Fornicando.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she did. I think she did that. I think she
so
I think,
official.
Yeah.
Because that's how they were.
Yeah, they really
were
were.
so extra.
They really were.
So I remember, I think she did say it that way. And I looked over to Jason. I'm like, what's fornicating? Like, what's that? I should have known, of course.
Right.
But he was like,
Jason was like, a mí no me meten en tu problema.
no, he really was. And then he just walked away. And then I think he was like in the room, because I think we were in the living room, and he went back to
He
the
said,
room.
this is an A-B conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to see myself out of here.
And I told her, and I was like, you know what? I'm a Christian now. I'm not going to lie. So if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. So I asked her, do you want to know the truth, or do you want to just be nosy?
That's all she needed to know.
She said she wanted the truth. I said, yes. In my heart and my mind, in this community that we're supposed to look out for each other, I didn't think it was going to go down the way that it went down, Abraham. And it was harsh too, because the thing is that nobody from church came to talk to me. No elder, no pastor, nobody. You know what happened? I got a letter from church and they said, you're done. You're not part of
got
it.
the chop.
You're not part of the member. And
You were excommunicated.
Exactly.
Excommunicated. We sound like
Which is the word that they use, y'all.
Right. So for me, that was a huge detriment to, again, the way that they go about keeping each other accountable. It's not that I didn't expect to get reprimanded, because, they weren't going to like spank me or anything. But I did expect to get reprimanded. But I also wanted to show as a leadership that we're all in sin. That's very important to like express and say. Mm-hmm. There isn't anybody in church that is out of sin. Like, nadie es perfecto. Everybody has sin. And I wanted to show me as being a leader in the church during that time that I could be in sin and I could still do things for God. The reason I'm saying that is that because you have your sin and I have my sin, that shouldn't have been a reason why we left church. Now, because back then, obviously, I took it harshly too. I ran with it. I was like, oh, you're going to kick me out? I'm out of here then. And I ran with that. Do I regret it? Maybe not. Maybe yes. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. Definitely no, because I feel like, again, I turned out to be a good person considering we didn't stray as much as we would thought that we would have. Because some of the people that did leave church, they strayed. Like, they went off the rails. But we rebelled, I want to call it. Like, we rebelled and we left. Why they handled it that way is beyond me. And I think that's a huge reflection and a good point. And I don't want to say it. I don't want to lean on that to give us a reason not to be in church today. But I definitely want to be a teaching lesson for our parents to how they handle things when they deal with us. Which, to this day, it's very my way or the highway type of thing. We got to give them grace, like
our parents, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
Our parents. We have to, and I would say for sure from my mom, she's definitely changed. She's not as harsh as she used to be. Like, she's understood that now as adults, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. And I had this really hard conversation with her because when I did leave church and I got the letter, I told her. I had a conversation. She started crying. I told her, I was like, until the day I left her house, I abided by her rules and I did everything and I respected the religious aspect of her house till the day I left her house. And I said, pero the moment I step out of that house, I'm an adult and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And she started crying. Because she needed that to understand that. Like, it's like, she needed to learn that lesson. Like, bro, like, yes, I'm going to do the Christian thing. And because it does tell us that we need to honor our parents, like in the Bible. And I did. But because they handled the way that they handled the way that I was in sin during that time, it caused me to rebel that way. And I kind of like, until this day, nobody from church either came to me and was like, dude, what happened?
I think that's where we lose. I think that's where we lose it because I understand the discipline of it again.
Right.
I understand. I even had a huge conversation. I think you were part of that chat that I asked about, like, why, what makes my sin greater than yours, right? And who are you to tell me that I'm going to be excommunicated? And I hate that word because it sounds so harsh.
But it's the truth, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I always say erased,
That's worse.
but I'm erased from church in the sense that, like, you can't participate in certain, like if you before were preaching, or you sang before, like actual have participation and part of leadership. I think that's when I'm talking about, like, erased. I get the disciplinary action from, like, erasing you or excommunicating you from church, but I think that's where we dropped the ball. Instead of outreaching and making sure that we are staying connected, praying for each other, still there for one another, right? Like, maybe let's put a pause on these things, because you're doing things that you're not supposed to. I mean, it's in the Bible as well. You're not supposed to have sex out of marriage. That's a whole different other podcast as well.
Right.
But all that to say, I get where they're coming from. I just don't think the follow through or how they're going about it is correct. Because you getting a letter, absolutely unacceptable. You being grilled about a freaking messenger bag, come on now. It's essentially a laptop bag. Like, you could have been coming from school for all they know. And I think this is a universal church issue. And not even a church issue. This is a universal issue. People just love minding other people's business.
100%.
Church or not. Like, people love having something to talk about. People love gossip, which is why I mean, this. I have very, 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 very little friends. Very specifically more females, because I feel like, and it just so happened it was a female, not to dog females, but it's just like we love gossip. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't have time for drama. And I love that small circle, and just knowing that my small circle is my safe space, right? Because again, anywhere you go or turn, someone wants something they heard about, they saw something you wore that wasn't cute, you said something a certain way. I mean, there's just always going to be something to talk about, church or not. And so I think that we have that I don't know how it is today, so I'm not going to talk about today, but back then that was a really harsh treatment. Like, yeah, I mean, we as kids knew of certain things that people were doing in, certain other areas of their life, but we're not out here like, ooh, pastor, at my 13 years of age, I got to talk to you about something that I heard.
Right. Ooh, child.
Ooh, child. You know what I mean?
This person is the guy that's communicating.
That part, So I think that we missed the mark there. We definitely missed the mark. And no, not we. Our parents and that generation, they missed the mark there. And I think that to be not necessarily fair, but to cut them some slack, I think that times like last Saturday, again, we had this like reunion. Anybody that formed part of the church, we all got together after so many years and just broke bread and worshiped together. And it was a really, really nice time. But I think that last Saturday made them realize that maybe some things could have been done differently.
100%.
I don't know that I would have said that a few years ago, but I think that last Saturday did make them realize. Even the way we talked and interacted with each other, there were a couple folks that anytime that I would see them in the past, even the greeting was very off, and I just felt very uncomfortable. Those same people, greeted me last Saturday, and we hugged and we talked, and it was just a completely different experience. And I think that, again, they were presented, we're talking about the 90s, and some of these people were in the church 70s and 80s. So we're talking about a really different time than today, and how they were brought into the church, how they were communicated, as far as like how things are done in the church, what you knew, what you do, what you can't do, who you hang with, who you don't, what you wear, what you don't, and all this stuff. I still think that, yeah, what we wear to church is absolutely imperative, right? Because if you wouldn't show up to church, to work with your cleavage out and your behind, all types of ways showing, don't show up to church like that.
Right.
I stand 10 toes down on that. I don't care how you feel about that. It's my opinion. If you don't show up to work, don't show up to church like that, So in that regard, another thing that I'm grateful for, perhaps not the jean skirt to my toes, times have progressed. and you can still dress beautifully and modest.
And there's a movement for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, like when we were younger, especially me, I know I wanted to dress tight and short and this and that. I was clubbing, I was having fun, and naturally we're young, we want attention, we're getting attention, and it feels good, right? But now I'm at big old age. I'm just like, modesty is beautiful, and I think that that's something else that I'm grateful for the church as well, because we learn about modesty in church. I don't like the way we were dressing back then. It was just not cute. But I think again, they're forced to kind of see things from a different perspective. And I think last Saturday we saw that. It was very different, at least for me. I would say it was a very different experience. It felt comfortable, it felt nice. It was sad because it's just the same old folks are there, and ultimately I would want to see the church grow. But yeah, I think they were also a product of their, exposure, upbringing, and environment.
100%. Because if it would have gone, and I don't want to like foretell or say something or put all the blame on them, I think we have to take some accountability as well.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't go to church is because I don't want to go to church.
Yeah.
But I could go to church tomorrow and be active tomorrow. Like it's not, I don't think it's the issue now is that something is impeding me from going to church. Definitely the beginning was that reason, the getting the letter and all of that. I think, again, part of the reason why I didn't go back was, again, because if I'm going to be involved, why not let me incorporate our way of thinking or our way of going about the way that we practice the church. So that has always been my hesitancy. Is like, and a lot of people to this day say it. Like when we were in church last week, was it last week?
Yeah, it was
last week.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was like, "We need you. Like we need you to come back. Like we need your generation to come back." Like, okay, but you know what that entails? You know what's gonna come with that? Like it's gonna change. Like things. If we want to fill the pews, like we want to feel the chairs of, like we have to do something. We have to do something different. Like there's no way around it.
What I want them to understand is different is not bad.
No,
I think that where they think we're coming from is that we're gonna change the music.
Right.
I mean, we are gonna change the music, right?
but they think it's gonna be like in poor taste,
yes,
or inappropriate,
right.
And it's like no, because we know, and that's the thing too. I feel like what you were saying, Emmanuel, about feeling like your mom didn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about the church, that they just don't, or the people that are in the positions that they're in
leadership,
the leadership, they just don't trust that we can still offer a respectful service, right, and worship, an appropriate, worship, in a different style. Mm-hmm. I don't think they trust that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Well, how'd that work out for them? And I hate to say it that way. Again, it brings me no joy to see the church in the state that it is.
No, absolutely.
And again, this is specific, guys. Whoever's watching, like this is specific to our church that we grew up in.
Not to the religion as a
right.
whole.
It's not. And granted, I get it. The institution has a right to protect the institution for it to follow its theology. And we're not saying that we're against any of that. But what I am saying is that, and Domingo used to say this a lot. I think he said this to your mother when she came to the church the first time. He told her, "Welcome to this hospital."
Welcome to this hospital.
And she was like, "What? What do you mean?"
The hospital?
Yeah, welcome to the hospital.
When my mom first, because again, my family is very, or I should say, before my mom came to the church, my family was very, very much Catholic. But my mom heard about the Adventist church in her teens, and it was always something she was curious about, but never really like paid too much mind to it. I mean, she's in DR. There weren't many Adventist churches. She ended up coming to the States in '86, and in 1993, December 1993, my mom went to Spanish convent for the very first time. And she said that when she got there, she saw Domingo at the door and he welcomed her and he said, "Welcome, sister. Welcome to this hospital." And she was like, "Hospital?" He was like, "Yep, where anybody and anybody from anywhere can come in and get better because Jesus Christ is here to heal." Which I thought was beautiful.
That's beautiful.
I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's what it's supposed to be.
And that's right.
Which is the
Yeah.
point that I'm trying to make. In this hospital, we're all the patients because none of us are 100% in health. You know what I'm
When
saying?
your mom said, when you fornicated, honey, it's a
You're beyond repair.
You're beyond
discharged
repair.
from the hospital.
Period.
And here's your bill.
Right.
Adiós,
Y que te
bye-bye.
vaya bien.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're trying to push out there, and it's not. Again, we're not coming from a place of hate. Again, we give all the credit to the church
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
us, coming to for us getting to where we've gotten to today. There's definitely a lot more we can cover, and I definitely want to continue the conversation. We've been going for a good 2 hours, and if Abraham wants to, I wanted to continue to do a part 2, of course, obviously.
Sure.
But bro, thank you for opening up. Babe, thank you for opening up. Like, it was a great conversation. We have a lot more to say, and I definitely want us to get into a part 2 and then get
Because believe it or not, this was just an introduction.
right. Like, it's just introduction. Like, and there's so much to talk about. Like, I want to get a little bit more into like how you opening up, and I give a lot of credit to your mom. I didn't think that she would have reacted that way either, because I wouldn't have thought my mom would have reacted that way.
Well, I will say this about your mom. I mean, I've always loved this lady. She's always been very fair, and very non-judgmental. She's experienced quite a few things, and you got to give it to her. She is not.
My mom is judgmental.
No, I don't.
To the 10th degree.
No,
however,
I think she's.
My mom is the kind of person, she has to judge you, read you, say her 2-3 cents, and then she'll be like, "Pero esto no es nada."
Right, she'll let you be. Like, I think she has to get out of her system. But in reality, I don't think that it's something that, you know what it is? I think that she has to come to terms with the shock of it first, right? Talk about her feelings and let it rip. But at the end of the day, she's not going to just sit here and point her finger at you like forever and a day. You came out to her, she suspected it, but she didn't know, right? Because she
wanted me to confirm
right,
it.
she wanted you to confirm it. And she'll crack a joke here and there, and because that's just who she is.
Because she said after the confirmation and whatever, after a while she was like, "Bueno, yo tengo cada tipo de persona que puede
You see what I mean? That's why I say that she's not judgmental.
Drogadito, me han matado uno, tengo una que tiene problemas especiales, tengo otra que cuero, whatever. Like, tengo este que pájaro. Like, she's like, I have
De todo un poco. Ay, mi amor.
Clip that from YouTube. But you got to make light of situations, like, and I think to what you're describing, it's like you may have an opinion about something.
Yeah.
But just learn to just love people, right? You don't have to approve or fully accept someone thing, but learn to just be respectful, right? To have some semblance of tolerance, right? I think something else, and this can maybe be for the part 2, is about being okay with setting boundaries. I feel like it's something that's not taught really, and as you were describing, right, as an adult, right, and having those conversations with your mom that might be hard for her to hear, it's also recognizing that I'm an adult, right? And so trust that I am doing what's right, the best that I can do for myself, for
and if
others.
I'm not, you have to respect it anyway.
Yeah,
I'm an adult.
But also at the same time, like, here's a boundary. You can accept me for who I am. You can tolerate who I am. We can have a conversation about like how much you want to know or you're willing to, to be a part of, and that's okay.
Right.
But I don't, agree with like pushing someone away or removing someone just because their life and their choices are wrong to you or, are contrary to your own beliefs. If we're brought into earth and this planet to grow and to love and to, lean into each other, then we should not allow division to take place. Like people should really like learn to assume best intentions and like really lean from love and not lean from hate or judgment, right? Not understanding something or not choosing to want to understand something. So, I think that's why my mom in that moment was great, because she was just able to say, you know what, like, and she said it. She's like, this is not my thing, but I always knew, and I just want to be a part of the world that you've kept from me. Show me your friends. I want to meet them. I want to know who it is that you were talking to, that you're hanging out with. And that's a beautiful thing, her leaving the church, that was a shock after that situation. I was just thought that was a shock, because one thing doesn't have to do with the other. Like, that was my own personal thing.
But in this, by the same token, she is a mom. And I think when we become parents, we'll understand maybe that side. We'll maybe understand that side of her, because you said it yourself, right? She was very overprotective of you. And I can understand that too, because I was very, to a detriment, I was very overprotective of my younger sister, right? And, when we were in school, as soon as I heard someone say something crazy about you, I want all the smoke, right? But I was always very like on defense mode. And I think she was coming from that side too. It's like, whoa, first and foremost, it's just a bag. And she, you just came out to her. So she's probably looking at it like, no one even knows this. Why are you making this a thing? Right. And that's just so out of pocket, especially for a church environment. Like, it's just a bag. Like, I would understand if she were to question you, if you had something over your, like you're wearing like a handbag, or a clutch or something. It's a messenger bag. And even then, you were 17. It did start to become a thing for guys to wear messenger bags because of school. We finally were able to afford some sort of semblance of a laptop, right? So, that's something that's you could have been coming from school or work or whatever have you. So I think that was out of pocket. And I think that's where she was coming from. Like, whoa, that was completely unacceptable. I don't think she had ever experienced that in church. And having that experience, I think, was also a shock to her. That kind of just completely,
turned her off.
Yeah. And at that time, you being 17 and gay, again, that's still very fresh. Not very much like, not that it wasn't accepted, but it was still taboo, in our teens. And it was coming around at that time. Like, you were able to be a little bit more open up, but it wasn't like today. So I think that she was still coming from a protective standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. You'll have to invite my mom.
Oh, I would.
I told her she needs to come on. Maybe for part 2 we'll have her on with us. So I'll be spicy.
That would be.
I do want to know why she left. It was it just because of
or
that?
From her, at least her
perspective, at least, right?
I think that was a part of it, but it'd be interesting to hear her perspective, and also for you to get the prequel,
right?
Like her, journey.
Yeah, I want to understand. Yep.
The Adventist church and that transition.
Look, if you guys like,
and she's also, and just real quick, she's also. I mean, you guys know her stories, like, and
she has good stories.
No, but like being in church with my dad, you don't remember?
No.
Yeah,
I don't think he was very much in.
You guys were a little bit more of a circle.
Oh, y'all, get ready, you two, for part 2 with my mom.
That part. And what is that they do? The clock it?
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody has to tell me what that means.
It just means
I just aged myself.
Oh my God. Like clock it, like.
Go ahead, y'all can wrap it up. I'm done. That's fine.
Yeah, because that was
huge.
That was an episode with my father.
That was a chapter, a book.
Well, all of
a movie.
Well, it's interesting because most of our moms, at least the ones that were married, we had dads that weren't in church.
That were not in church and were in the streets.
Yep. My dad was in the streets.
My dad was in jail. So.
He was literally outside.
That's a part 3.
That's a
We
part
gotta
3.
talk about daddy issues.
So,
but
I don't have daddy issues.
Oh God.
Okay, that I'm just, guys, that is part 4. Wrap it up.
Look, if you guys enjoyed the content, consider to subscribe. If you have any comments, decent comments, don't go off the rails. We're regular people like you are. Please leave your comments. I'll try my best to definitely answer those. And look out for part 2. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll check you in the next one.